you my protege. Crossing that soldier race. Niggas don't know them days. Take you in back of the buildings. Make you expose your rage. Take you across the tracks. Make you explode the face. Now you official now. But you got a soul to save. I just been cooking that new. I'm about to drop in a few. Think if I call it the great, the people gon' call it the truth. I ain't really trip on the credit. I just paid all of my dues. I just respected the game. Now my name all in the news. Tripping on all of my moves. Quote me on this, got a lot more to prove. Remember I came in this bitch, fresh out the county with nothing to lose.
No, wanna count on you, but I don't do this shit for nothing. No, not at all. You, but my money real, that you do. Oh yeah, so I don't do this shit for nothing. No, not at all. Oh, I told her I got 99. Oh, yeah, sorry. So I don't do this shit for nothing. Not at all. On a great love. I still motivate.
Back in this bitch like I never left. Stand for some shit that you never read. Passing through stages in life, through the ups and the downs, like it's all just another test. Live by the rules like a fucking ref. I got respect in 100 sets. Too many chains need another chest. Playing no games if it wasn't chess. Cut from that cloth that you couldn't stretch. Cut from that circle you couldn't test. Heavily pressured and under stress, even though niggas ain't sure we was a mess. Honest attempt playing to the left. Judge a young nigga by their address. Left us no option, what they expect. Only thing we knew for sure is the maintenance set. Fuck living basic, I'm taking risks. Fuck what they saying, I'm saying this. Don't waste your chest, man, don't make you rich. It don't mean nothing, so fuck them, let's make a grip. Double up, triple up, make assists. Ballin' so hard you can pay a bitch. Link to the lake if they wanna fish. Make sure them niggas around you stick to the script. This should be written in stone. You should come visit my zone. Don't take my word, double check all of my flows. Ask them how hustle got on, but fuck what you heard. This for who walk down that road. Sold everything but they sold. Third off the curb. Real niggas rich as you nerds. Address the human makers. Look, lot of niggas feel what I want. Lot of niggas fold but I cope. Lot of niggas gone but I'm home. Lot of niggas off but I'm on. Lot of niggas lost on this road. Couple niggas gave up they goal. Gang of niggas traded they soul. With me I'm standing on 10 toes. Looking out my Benz window. Wonder where my friends all go. Scared to give my heart to this girl. Paranoid she gon' leave if my hands get low. Knowing that this game to be played, but I'm knowing that this game to be changed. I should be afraid of afraid. I'm just trying to live up to the meaning of my name. I'm just trying to live up to the niggas in my game. I'm just trying to live up to my moment on the stage. I'm just trying to live up to the truth of my pain and the power that it gave me on the youth for today. I put a coupe in a safe, and I shoot from the waist. My time is money, and I ain't got a second for you flukes and you fakes.
How do you dream of my walls? How do you dream of my niggas? How do you dream of my brother? How do they dream of my niggas? Yeah. How do you dream of my walls? How do you dream of my niggas? How do you dream of my brother? How do they dream of my niggas? Yeah.
We be taking trips more than often this month. When I call, they pulling up 2, 3, stream up. You ain't doing enough for the clan. How I feel if I gotta sit it down. How the fam gon' feel? 120 in a euro, one hand on the wheel. I was just programmed through a $250,000. Can't believe I'm still here. Shed tears for the dead. Cubes in my daughter chain, she don't even wear. Pop my little brother up, you know we took it there. Real nigga telling on me, only thing that I fear. Yeah, only thing that I fear. Real nigga telling on me, only thing that I fear. A lot of niggas queers, a lot of dope in the air. A lot of niggas queers, a lot of dope in the air. Styrofoam contaminated, got a nigga meditating. Yeah, I said it, got a nigga meditating. I can't even eat unless I'm medicated. I can't even sleep unless I'm medicated. I've been on my feet chasing check after check, nigga week after week, cause I'm dedicated. I can't even eat unless I'm medicated. I can't even sleep unless I'm medicated. I've been on my feet chasing check after check, nigga week after week, cause I'm dedicated.
I was been supposed to change up. I was been supposed to fold all this pressure. I was been supposed to change up. Nigga, what would I look like? I come from the hood, I represent the only way up. Had to hustle, boy, I'm trying to touch the toy. I'm trying to fuck these LA streets up. Think it's safe to say that I did it. Look, nigga, all black, everything. And my diamonds all love like Girl Wayne. Look,
Let's get it. Let's get it. Cool, 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 cool. As always, a little recap from yesterday. Right, anticipating we we're gonna retrace back into this 5-minute imbalance, right? These 5-minute imbalances after taking the short-term high, visiting that hour busy. Got a little shallow run during the later AM session, and we got that deeper retracement back into that imbalance. We got that deeper retracement, right, into this first 5-minute fair value gap, right, during the PM session, right? We shallow ran the highs that we're aiming for, right, in the AM session, right before lunch, right? This is lunch hour right here, this lighter gray shade. All right, that's lunch hour, and then the PM session, we end up trading back down into this first fair value gap here. Little reaction, and then price has worked its way down quite a bit since, right? Quite a bit since, but let's start back up top real quick. Give me 1 second real quick.
And if I'm at the game, you can bet your bottom dollar that I sit on floor. And if I'm at the fight, you can bet your bottom dollar sweat hit my whore.
Won't take no loss, won't take days off. We go so hard until we fall. Won't take no loss, won't take days off. We go so hard until we fall. A nigga used to dream, my reality to dream now. Nigga used to dream, my reality to dream now. I'm living out my dreams now. Living out my dreams.
Okay, so much better. So much better. Here we go. All right, starting back up on the top. Right, just overall anticipating this weekly candle was going to be expanding higher. Right. So now we took the previous week's low. Right, so a couple areas I want to see respected. Right, consequent encroachment of these wicks. If not, if we start really getting that expansion to the downside, right, and we put that Tuesday high of week, right, possibly going for these relatively equal lows here, but we need more evidence that price does in fact want to draw lower, right, because it's gonna have to get through, you know, some of these down candles here before it can get to these relatively equal lows, right? So we're trading at a discount right now. We're trading underneath last week's Wednesday low. Small little volume imbalance as well. Yeah, so we'll drop down to the smaller time frames and check that out. We also taking out some, hopefully we're taking out some sell side liquidity that we had marked up from last week, or actually it might have been like 2 weeks ago, right here. Can't really see it on the 4 hour, it's on the 1 hour. It's a single low inside of an imbalance, but we also have this single low inside of this imbalance, right? So just looking at possible areas price can draw to, and possibly have a reversal at, right? That's what I'm kind of looking at. Where the short-term highs that are forming, short-term lows, right? There's those, it's actually relatively equal lows inside that imbalance, right on top of that imbalance. So that's looking good. That could get traded to, right? Oh. Right, we've had that marked on the charts for a couple weeks now. Oh, also, right, this is a little Halloween edition. Little Halloween edition trading session. Very cool. We just purchased those relatively equal lows, right? Very nice. I'll also be watching right, which is right above it, or right below it, is that single low inside that 4-hour imbalance. Right, we're pretty close to that, so that might be on the table as well. But a little bit on the 4-hour, more likely yes. But if we do respect this imbalance here, right, more than likely won't get traded to. See if we respect that. Short-term high on the 1-hour and on the 15-minute is here, so it's pretty far away. Also, notice how we didn't trade above the open again. For one, on like the macro scale of how to like look at today, right? It is the morning before NFP, so conditions are usually not as optimal. Just for the pure fact that we're, you know, it's the morning before NFP. Like, it's usually the market conditions, more manual intervention, less likely for it to be as clean. But notice that we got here is some buy side liquidity inside this imbalance here, this 15-minute imbalance, right? These relatively equal highs are inside this imbalance here, not completely filling that imbalance in. We also didn't trade above the open at all, right? During that London session, Asian session, and early New York session, right? We never got any trade above the open, right? So that daily candle is just one-sided, right? If we leave that untouched, would probably be unlikely, right? Eventually, we're gonna work our way back up into here, and maybe it's NFP, or maybe it's later on in the afternoon session today, or later in the AM session. And notice what we have right above the right above, not trading above the open. We have a new day opening gap, right? So that can also be a draw on liquidity. Cool. Yep, we're also trading below that Wednesday low. See if we're about to trade through that second set of sell side liquidity, that 4-hour single low, right? But looking for just price highs and lows to get put in, right? After purchasing some of the sell side liquidity, we don't have any movement to the upside right above the open. So if we're just thinking about the daily candle, right? I still have that bullish bias, so expecting that wick to be created in the first half of the candle, and then that expansion to the upside, plus the distribution on the second half of the candle. So just thinking about that in mind. A new day opening gap, it also is looking very nice with this daily open, right? This daily open price. All right, so that's looking good. See if price wants to purge that second set of sell side liquidity. We're gonna have to get some order flow going on the upside, right? On the smaller time frames, 15-minute, 5-minute, and such, to get that nice market shift in structure, shift in market structure, right? To get that nice shift in market structure, and start working our way up higher, right? But we have to show evidence of that, or else we don't take any trades. But yeah, I do like this buy side liquidity once price wants to start turning and doing that shift to market structure. That buy side liquidity didn't fill in completely this imbalance, right? So it's just relatively equal highs inside of there, which is a nice draw on liquidity. All right, just letting price do its thing.
I flash back on that shootout at the beach, 20 deep. You tried to squeeze, your gun jammed and they released. Blood on your teeth, how many stains? I see 3. Bitch started to panic, so I made her switch seats. Driving there, police chopper here flying there. Really not too spooked, comedy asked me, am I dying now? All I know is keep you calm and collected. Cracking jokes like, nigga, now you gon' be finally respected. See your blood leaking, got my the cash is mine. I take them both to the spot, plus your phone till you back online.
Yeah, I'm tryna go down, down as a grave. Every night I get on my knees and pray that I will go down. Yeah, I will go down. Yeah.
Legendary moves, leader of my crew. Heavy is the head that wear the crown, that shit true. Do it like Nip Hustle, that's to fill some big shoes. And what good is excuses when the fucking Bristol? Smoking all that Sindo. Run away from my pain, rosemary on my temples. Heard that's good for migraines. Solo in my benzo. Exit off the highway. Solitary thoughts like how to reinvest my side chain.
I'm tryna go down, down as a grave. Every night I get on my knees and pray that I will go down. Yeah, that I will go down. Yeah, I'm tryna go down, down as a lich. Every night I
After we trade to that sell side liquidity, we should be good from there, right? There are imbalances here. Small, little, tiny imbalances that we could possibly trade to, but we have purged a lot of sell side liquidity, right? Relatively equal lows on top of an imbalance, a single low inside of an imbalance on the 4-hour, right? And then just regular imbalances with no liquidity inside of them. So sure, they could absolutely be traded to, but we have taken out some significant liquidity, right? Wednesday's low of day, relatively equal lows on top of an imbalance, and then that single low on the 4-hour inside an imbalance. So decent amount of liquidity. We are pretty far away from the nearest short-term high, so we'd have to get some good price structure flowing right before we take any buys. But that's kind of just like the mindset and framework of where price is at right now.
Inside they circle, Satan sitting on your sofa. Same nigga that shot you was the one you used to smoke with. Cold shit, my whole clique notorious. You heard of us? 6 souls is murderers. You still serving clubs? Jealous nigga, you broke as fuck. Yo, bitch on my nuts. Spilling Patron out my cup, she can't get enough. Buffing me down as I puff on the finest kush. They say I be doing too much, I just do my stuff. Yeah, I just do my stuff. Hustle, hustle, blue laces, shield cases. Check bodies, we don't leave no traces. Big faces, suitcases. If you ain't no hoe, we get paid, bitch. Blue laces, shield cases. Catch bodies, we don't leave no traces. Big faces, suitcases. If you ain't no hoe, we get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid. We the best music. DJ Khaled. You keep taking me higher and higher. Yeah. Don't you know that the devil is a liar? I know they'd rather see me down, put my soul in the fire. But we keep going higher, higher. My granny 88, she had my uncle in there. A miscarriage back to back every year for like 10. Pregnant with my mom's, doctor told her it was slim. Was bed row for 9 months, but gave birth in the end. Pops turned 60, he proud what we done. In one generation, he came from Africa young. He said he met my mom's at the Century Club. Los Angeles love, kinda like Hustle and Bug. Money turned 10, cross turned 2. Starting to see this life shit from a bird's view. We the ones that made millions off the curve. Fool in this rap shit 10, never made nerd moves. You keep taking me higher and higher. Yeah, Khaled, don't you know that the devil is a liar? I know. Right back. They'd rather see me down, put my soul in the fire. But we keep going higher, higher. Yeah, talk to 'em. Emptied out the clip, it was broad day. Fuck niggas always gotta learn the hard way. We gon' tape it off if we ball play. Put a half a moon gold crescent on your ball fade. Police hit the lights, that's a car chase. Looking back at my life, make my heart race. Dance with the devil and test all faith.
Right, so we're coming really close to that sell side liquidity. I haven't quite purged it just yet, right? But we are getting some highs and lows forming, right? Right, possible short-term high here. Right, we got a little fair value gap. See if we can purge through that sell side liquidity, and then continue getting that bullish order flow going. But we still gotta wait for some time, right? We're also inside that first AM macro session still. Right, so that's looking good. We don't have any other news in regards to red folders. We have a 945 orange folder already passed. But other than that, right, we got no other red folders coming up for today. Right, just got NFP tomorrow. We also have a red folder that follows that at 10 a.m. So that's looking good. Right, if you also check the current standings, right, at the beginning of the stream, right, that's the current standings. Just updated it of all the accounts, right, all the accounts I'm currently trading. A couple insights on that, right, updated all the PA accounts associated with Apex, right, those are all the future trading accounts that I use, right, are through Apex. And if you notice too, on the bottom of that current standings, the 50k FT Plus account has had a huge spike in equity, right, huge spike in equity. That was for a low risk setup that I like to treat as my BTC setup account, right, and took this low risk sell setup on BTC a few days ago, right before that pump. And let's see if we can get to it actually. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Oh, maybe not. BTC USD. Yeah, I just took a nice little 5-minute swing position, right? Low risk, right? And just aiming for a lot of buy side liquidity that was built up between relatively equal highs, all-time highs, and such. Ended up closing out 75% of the position yesterday at about a 1 to 15, just over. So that's why it's locked in about almost 4% in profits on that account. Right, the account is still in the calibration phase, right? Still in the phase 1 with that profit goal of 10%, right? Without losing 10%. But that's why it's had a huge equity increase, right? When you risk over just 0.5% in order to make quite a bit of, right, buy side liquidity being rated, purged, right? 1 to 15 does some work. So I'm still leaving a quarter percent of that position on, right? So it's still floating in some unrealized gains, but overall AIM was and still is the all-time high, right? So took a little bit off the table yesterday, right? Was holding it for about a day and a half, 2 days, right? Was even holding it when it ran all the way up to the couple $100 from all-time highs, but just anticipating, you know, price structure would respect, build some inefficiencies in, and continue working our way up to that all-time high. I wanted to hold on to the position a little bit longer, and so I ended up closing it out just before the daily open yesterday. And yeah, locked in about 6%, right? We were in drawdown. If you don't remember, we were in drawdown about 1.5% on that account, and now the account is sitting just under 4% in realized gains, right? So that's looking nice just in one setup, right? That was an account that I've had for just over 600 days, right? It's been in drawdown pretty much the entire duration of the account, right? But you know, being super patient. Honestly, that's like kind of like my Bitcoin account that I like to trade when I see setups. And I just thought it was very one-sided. Let me see if I could pull it up. I don't know if they. Oh, it's because I'm on Tradeovate right now, but yeah, that was looking super clean. Right, not risking a lot. Right, very small risk, 0.5%, just over 0.5%. So, yeah, I thought I came really close to. I was a few $100 away from passing the account altogether, right? But price just was a little shy of all-time high. So still managing risk, and you know, took 75% of the position off already. And yeah, looking forward to that account. That was like a little sleeper account that I've had, that I don't trade too often. But when I see some Bitcoin positions that I doing the same thing, right? Either purge on liquidity, continuations inside of fair value gaps. Yeah, purge on liquidity and waiting for that shift in market structure. Right, pretty much doing the same thing just on Bitcoin, right, instead of ES. So we did end up purging that 4-hour single low. Right, we just ended up purging that, so that's looking good. Right, now we have this short-term high here, right, which we'll be waiting for. Right, we can get a nice little shift in market structure here. Maybe we build up a little bit more liquidity, right, get that purge through, and then get that shift in market structure. Well, that's looking good. But yeah, that was like a little sleeper account that I don't talk about too often. But was watching Bitcoin at the time, and it was like in the afternoon, and it was a nice little setup, right, with a lot of buy side liquidity to be purged, and sure enough, it drew right to it, right. Also on like the macro scale, this is like the most bullish week for Bitcoin out of the entire year on average. So yeah, just waiting for confluences to align with that, and you know, pretty simple setup, right? So we're sitting about 5% or so in profits, with about just under 4% in realized gains. So that's looking good. All right, we'll keep you updated with that. That was like a little sleeper account. We also have what is it? I also took it on the other night account, and when we got that first expansion move, stopped to break even, and I guess spread must have stopped me out, but that account was also in it. But yeah, it ended up getting stopped out at break even. But pretty solid overall.
It's alright, it's just life if you want one. Learn to hold yourself down with a big gun. All these niggas playing tough, you gon' chip one. For these dollars a decade, you a risk one. Fuck it though, cause when you flat broke, you ain't nothing, bro. Seen a gang of rich niggas get comfortable. Then looking at they watch like where the fuck it go. Through my eyes, I learned lessons.
All right,
like
so
tons of the essence in my
that
grind
will
got
be
obsessed.
good.
Then my mind got restless,
We
but
got
batteries so separate.
some good things coming, right? Good things coming towards the end of the year,
Real niggas come second, so I kick the dough down. Getting more
right? Looking over the whole year's trading log, right? Got some potentially some good adjustments, right? Some possible improvements to the trading plan, right? That I'm really excited to start implementing very, very soon, right? Very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. Right. Overall, keeping the idea behind it is keeping the risk the same. Right. 0.5% I think is very appropriate for these futures accounts, right? Which is one contract. Now it's just kind of delegating between, you know, risk management, right? Trade frequency, what kind of strike weight I'm aiming for, and the RR, if I want to take any partials or not. That's kind of like the main things up for debate. You know, if you've seen a lot in the past setups, right? I go for 10 handles, but most of the times price goes far beyond 10 handles, right? So then how do I get slight exposure to that? By taking partials, right? And deleveraging risk, right? And locking in some profits at certain areas, right? So that's kind of my thought process of, you know, possibly adding. I gotta look at the data a little bit more, but possibly just getting that small little itch of aiming for targets that are past 10 handles, right? So I'm keeping everything the same, right? But just taking a little sliver off of the trade once we go, let's say 10 handles or to our first low-hanging fruit, right? Taking majority off and just, you know, leaving a couple little micros on there to potentially hit the full target. You know, something that I've been thinking about, right? Also from a risk standpoint, but also for kind of a graduation level of reading where price is drawing towards. You know, yeah, that's the way I kind of see it, right? We have some good targets usually that we want to aim for that are much further away than 10 handles. So give myself a little bit of an opportunity to try and aim for that, right? Try to aim for those further targets that are 10 handles away. And I feel now that we've been consistently executing at 10 handles for just over a year, right? I think it's exact. Oh, I want to say I made the change October last year, going for 10 handles. I could be wrong. Go back to my earlier streams and peep those. I don't even think this year I was doing 10 or this. Oh no, this year I believe I was at the beginning of the year. Go back and check those early live streams, right? They're all still there. This has been a journey that I've been documenting, right, pretty publicly on YouTube, of going through the whole, right, literally $0 in funding to now currently $350,000 worth of funding, right? So check those out. But going back to the point, right, been executing at 10 handles for quite some time, just being able to see that play out so often and price go a good amount of times past the 10 handle runs, right, into our, let's say, like our 15 handle targets, our 20 handle targets, right, and being able to take partials at those areas with, you know, not changing very much, right? If I'm taking 80% off at 10 handles and leaving 2 micros on there, right, then you know, it's just offering that little bit of potential upside for a little bit of drawdown, right? And just break even, because I'm thinking, you know, taking partials 80% off at 10 handles, you know, moving stops to break even, and then taking off the last 2 micros at either the next target, right, or depending on where liquidity is looking at, splitting it up between 1 and 1, you know. So it's like risk is off at that point, right? You can't risk any loss in that case, because you already locked in 80% of the position and you're moving stops to break even. So, you know, then it's kind of like it's kind of like a just, you know, proving that you have a good idea where price is going to with very little risk, you know what I mean? So that's something that I'll have to look over, but might be adding to the plan, right? Might be adding to the plan. Right, especially with setups with larger ranges, I could definitely see it working out pretty well, right? Pretty well. It's not going to be a huge increase in equity. I'm just going to kind of slowly integrate it, if that makes sense. It's like a slow rollout of like a new product, you know what I mean? If you're going to slowly roll out a new product and kind of like test how it is, right, you're going to do like a small sample size. So that's why I feel like this taking 80% off at 10 handles still and allowing 2 micros to keep on running is that slowly, right, that slow rollout of this new step in the plan, right? Which I find I feel like it's a nice little growing pain that we're gonna have to handle, right? Coming up on that 10:30 turn here in about 15 minutes. We'll see if we can get above this high, the short-term high here. But other than that, we're not looking at too much, honestly, besides this short-term high up here, which is a little ways to go. Yeah, but watching this short-term high, see if we can get above that. Possible fair value gap here. You know, we already taken out that single sell side liquidity, right? And I think we just took it. There we go. The only issue is, I want to say these are relatively equal lows right here. Right, so that is an issue right there. That disregards this whole idea. But the range is fairly wide to begin with, so it's all good. We could wait for another shift in market structure. Right, possibly. Yeah, we could put in another short-term high in there. Right, so we're going to have this busy, possibly being left open. We'll wait for a retracement back in there, and then see if we can get that second shift in market structure, right? In regards to areas to aim for, right? Let's say we don't hit this full target, right? That's pretty far away. We continue this bearish order flow, right? I would anticipate us to get somewhere near this 15-minute imbalance right here. Right, it's above equilibrium, it's in a premium if people are still shorting, right? If price doesn't want to trade above there and draw above there, but it's above that 50%, so it's in a premium. That's something that we could be aiming for, right? We also have Let's see, this single high inside this imbalance here on the lower time frames. Not as significant if it was on a higher time frame, but still, nonetheless, on the lower time frames, we got that single high. That's also right around that equilibrium price. So let's see if we can get a retracement back into this fair value gap, right, after taking the short-term high, and get that second shift in market structure that we could play. Right, because if we're looking at the equilibrium, I want to say that that little buy side, that little minor buy side liquidity is inside of there. Yeah, it's just below there. So, you know, any imbalances above that 50% is a premium. So just keeping that in mind. Right, this is something where the range is a lot smaller. You know, oh, we still got over 12 handles to equilibrium, about 16.5 handles to that 15-minute fair value gap. So we got some good room to work with. Let's see if we can get that second shift in market structure though. Right, just checking out the time frames, making sure we're not taking out any other short-term highs. That could be also a possible shift in market structure. Right, so keeping that in mind. All right, but it's good. We're below that sell side liquidity that we just took out, and actually 2 pairs of sell side liquidity plus Wednesday's low of day. Right, so that's looking good. Now it's just waiting for that order flow to start telling us that it wants to draw higher. Right, just revisiting this first fair value gap that's a little bit outside of our range. Right. All right, but let's see if we can get that second shift in market structure. Right, just making a lot of relative equal highs in just places that shouldn't have relative equal highs. That's what's keeping me a little bit more on the fence. But you know, is that something that's uncommon before NFP? Not really, honestly. That's like something that's, I would say, is more common, right? Like just the fact that we have relative equal lows there. We're creating relative equal highs here, so not really making that single high that we can get that good displacement above. So got to be a little bit more patient with that, right? Look at even on the 2-minute, 3-minute, relatively equal highs here, right? So we'll see if we can get that second shift in market structure. Not holding my breath, but right. Ooh, look at even that right there. We're expecting that. We're respecting this volume imbalance, which is like one of the weakest PD arrays. Right, we can't even get a body closure above this volume imbalance. So we gotta sit, be patient a little bit more. You know, we're coming up on that 10:30 turn here in about 8 minutes or so. Right, so we just gotta wait and be patient for that. Right, wait and be patient for that. Also leaving a little bit of this fair value gap open. Yeah, the range today is pretty wide, right? And that's another thing that I want to possibly adjust to the plan, is being able to take setups that are more than 5 handles. Yeah, we have pretty big range just for the AM session and London session. But that is also something that I'm considering changing up with the plan, is being able to take those higher handle setups with just less leverage. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? If we have the same idea, everything is exact same, and guess what? It's like 7 handles. Like, I still want to be in those, right? It's just because the volatility that day is just, the range and volatility is just wider. But why should I not be able to take those if it's following the same plan and the same setup and everything like that? I'm thinking about just introducing that, kind of like the same thing with the partials, rolling it out. I want to roll this out slowly as well, right? And by doing so, I would do it in a way that is at half risk. You know, taking let's say I did want to take this setup right here, right? And it was a part of the plan now. I think we said it was about, let's see, this setup for a stop loss is about 9 handles. Like, let's say we want to take that. Well, I would just do it with half the risk, right? That would also keep me under my normal risk of 0.5%, right? That would be even less than that, right? Maybe 0.4% because it's 9 handles, right? So being able to take this at 9 handles and going for a further out there target, at least, you know, waiting for price to retrace to over 50%, right? Let's say like in this case, right, a 9 handle, we'd be going at least to like a 1 to 18, right? At least a 2 to 1, right? Which is even definitely within our range here. Or just waiting for that second shift in a shift in market structure inside of there, and then just closing out from there. Right, the numbers just have to make sense on like where we're going, what it's offering. If it all makes sense and it's just like a 6 handle stop loss, like I'm completely okay with taking those, right? Let's just do it at like half risk, you know, just to introduce the idea of being able to not increase exposure, right? We don't want to increase exposure, right? I don't want to be going from like a 0.5% to risking like 1% on these accounts, right? So that would be increasing exposure for me. I just want to increase, you know, it would increase the trade frequency for sure, but I also think it would be beneficial for the strike rate, right? From what I've seen in the data that I've held, there have been many setups that we're waiting for that the only thing that's wrong with them is that they're above 5 handles. And I think that was a good thing to do in the beginning because it keeps you super disciplined and super like restricted to one type of setup. And it also helps manage exposure, right? Like it helps manage a lot of exposure by not taking more than 0.5% risk every single time, right? Which is very good. Very good for the account in the very beginning. But I think I've grown past that now, right? Where I've been super disciplined with it, and I think by taking it at half risk, right, is actually less exposure, right, than normal setups, but yet it's doing the same exact thing. So I feel like that would be a good little rollout, being able to roll that idea out into the training plan going into next year, right? It's kind of like little growing pains. I kind of see it as like little small achievements in order to as I'm becoming more seasoned, you know. So that is something that I am thinking about going into the back portion this last quarter of the year. Remember how I was talking about that, those candles respecting that volume imbalance, right? Weakest PD array. We're seeing signs of that right now, of the candle bodies respecting this little tiny volume imbalance on the 5-minute, right? Looks like we're coming for those lows, right? So we'll see if we can get something at this. We're still out from the 10:30 turn here, right? We're either gonna start displacing to the downside and come and purge the second set of sell side liquidity that we have paired up right here, right? Or we're gonna get a little shallow run and get that move now, since we are about to take those lows out in this first shift to market structure. If we get that another shift to market structure to the right of this after purging these lows, right, that's gonna look pretty good, right? It's gonna look pretty good for us. Right, so we're just taking out those lows there. Now let's see if we can get some order flow going, some highs and lows getting created, and then we can get that shift in market structure after purging these lows here. Right? Be watching for that. So I'm excited to possibly add those into the plan. I think that would be a nice little, like, just a step up, you know? A step up, a little achievement of being so disciplined and sticking to a very non-discretionary plan, right? Pretty fixed trading plan that I've been executing on for almost 2 years now. And just kind of building it up from there, right? I feel it as like little growing pains, little graduation step to partials, and possibly taking those larger than 5 handle runs, right? So that is exciting. So stay tuned for that. I'll make a little announcement when I'm upgrading the whole training plan and everything like that. It'll be a fun little thing to see the progression of over time, you know, because I've already you know, documented, I mean, not the whole thing, right? Didn't document anything last year, but in regards to everything that I've been taking this year, right, it's pretty much all been documented on YouTube, right? Besides the little BTC swings that I've been doing, right? Everything else, right, I stick to just this session, right? So super disciplined with that. And yeah, it'll be exciting moving forward. We just hit that 1030 turn, right? Nothing too crazy going on. We'll give it a little bit more time here, but not much before we call it a day, a wrap, right? We got NFP going on tomorrow. Well, let's see what we get here in the next few minutes. right? I'd be willing to, take something that we do get some good displacement to the upside, right? Just off the pure fact that we purged this first shift in market structure on the lower time frame. This was only on the 1 minute. This shift in market structure. This wasn't a short-term high on anything higher, time frame wise on the 1 minute. So if we can get that second shift in market structure here after purging these lows, right? This would be good. Like even if we get some 2 solid consecutive down candles right here to create that short-term low, and then we get that displacement above the short-term high, that is valid for me, right? I would take that, right? I would take that, no problems, right? Even now, right, that equilibrium that we're talking about is probably somewhere around this short-term high. All right, so just getting that basic low-hanging fruit, trade back to equilibrium. It's right on that high right there. So let's go check out. Look at that single high inside that imbalance, right? That is liquidity right there, right? That is liquidity. So now it's just waiting for price to do the thing, and we can aim for that, right? We are quite a bit away from that. We're on the bottom of the range, so definitely have enough range to get up into there. But let's see if it sizes up here for us. If not, completely okay with sitting on the hands, right? Day before NFP, right? Just keep that in mind. So it might be a little bit less than ideal. Maybe taking on a little bit more, possibly lower probability setups, right? But just keeping that in mind, right? Just keeping that in mind, right? Just because it's the day before NFP, it's more likely to have some manual intervention. But if it shows, it plays. Right, we still haven't traded above that open as well, right? So and trade back up to that new week opening gap. So yeah, but we gotta wait for that displacement to the upside first. We get that displacement, then we can see from there. Right, if we're not able to get that shift in market structure higher, right, we will just be sitting on the hands. Let's see how the other time frames are checking out here. Yeah, looking like we're gonna just be sitting on the hands today. Right, looking like we'll just be sitting on the hands. Right, so we're going into that second AM macro now. We also have NFP going on tomorrow, so NFP and election going back to back. Right, we have the elections on Monday, which will be super interesting. Oh, excuse me, Tuesday. Right, we even got some, I mean, it says presidential elections all day, plus we got some 10 a.m. red folders going on Tuesday, so it might be a little hot on Tuesday. And then we also have FOMC going on Thursday. They're hitting us with quite a few big news events going on next week, which should be super interesting for price, right? And where price ends up leading after the elections, right? And after FOMC going on in the same week, just a couple of days apart, right? We got the elections going on Tuesday, plus FOMC going on Thursday. It's going to be an exciting new week. So we'll be on for the AM session tomorrow, right? After NFP drops at 8:30, we'll be on for New York Stock Exchange Open. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. And yep, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Happy Halloween. Peace out.